Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Energize Your Online Business podcast. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello. As always, I'm joined by my super spectacular co-host. I almost said co-star. Co-host, Kate Satars. Hello, Kate.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
I love being a star.
And speaking of stars, we have the absolutely amazing coach and guru of all things business and life. I don't think you would use that title. I don't think you would use it, but I would use it for you. Mindi Huebner. She is an amazing coach and actually a lot of entrepreneurs that I know, and including me, have worked with her or have worked with her. So this is going to be a fantastic episode. Hello, Mindi.
Hello, both of you. I love can I be a co-star too? I love that.
Yes. You are the main star. We are your co-stars on this episode.
No. We're orbiting your star.
So
much for inviting me back to this for the first time, but back in your circle. I really appreciate it.
Yes. Well, we were just gushing before we started the episode that we love everything that is Mindi. So we're excited to share you with this audience. And maybe a good place to start is what are your specialties? What do you help people with so they can kind of self-identify and go, oh, I'm going to listen for this in this episode?
Yes, absolutely. Well, I like to call myself an intuitive mindset mastery coach, and specifically helping high achievers stop the self-sabotaging behaviors that keep them from growing and scaling their business, from making those next level decisions that will take them to the place that they really want to go. I work with highly successful people that want to then unlock that next thing that's keeping them from that next level of success.
Mm-hmm. What do you see are some of the most common? Because I feel like some of us, we don't realize we're self-sabotaging until somebody points it out to us, or until after the fact, we look back a year later and go, oh my gosh, that was absolutely self-sabotage. What are the kinds of things that you see in your clients and I guess in the world?
Yeah, absolutely. And this dialing in on self-sabotage has come in the last probably year or so, because it's becoming so much more apparent in my own life as well as others. So as I deal with something, I go, oh, isn't that interesting? let's dial that. All right. Then I start recognizing it in other places. So believe it or not, procrastination for high achievers, as well as overworking, overthinking, which we also call indecision or analysis paralysis, right? That people have heard that term before. Negative self-talk is the number one self-sabotaging behavior that high-achieving women specifically engage in subconsciously without realizing it. And that's the other piece that I didn't say. I work in the subconscious so that we align our conscious behaviors with our subconscious beliefs, behaviors, everything that is underneath the surface, because 5% of what we do, these are rough estimates scientifically, 5% of what we do consciously, 95% of what we do subconsciously. So we don't realize it. We don't recognize that we're participating in these self-sabotaging behaviors a lot of the time.
Yeah. So really all of those self-sabotaging behaviors, those come from the subconscious. It's not like we're saying, okay, today I'm going to say something mean about myself, or today I'm going to sit down and actively procrastinate, although, sometimes that happens. But so if it comes from subconscious, how did it get there to begin with?
That is a great question. And I will answer it. And sometimes we don't care. Right? Like we could get stuck in therapy, and I'm not a therapist. We could get stuck in therapy of, well, where did this come from? And how did I come to believe this? And sometimes those answers are very beneficial and very helpful. And sometimes we can't get to the root. Like we just don't want to, we don't have the time. We just want to move on. We just want to launch our program. We just want to, right? Like do the thing. And so many times those subconscious beliefs, because that's what it comes from. That's what all of these behaviors are stemmed in a belief. And most of them will have some form of fear or a worthiness issue, that type of thing. Fear of visibility or fear of failure. So fear is, not choosy. Like it'll show up for the whole spectrum for us. And really what happens is we have this known place of being, and then the self-sabotaging habits, behaviors come out when we attempt to step out of the known. And all of a sudden we're like bumping up against this, well, what is happening here? Why am I? And to go back to answer the question, it comes from the world around us, our beliefs. We have a filter. Our brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes based on our beliefs. And those beliefs come in very young. If you're woo like me, past lives, generationally, like they come in from all around, and you absorb them from your parents. No shade, we're all doing the best we can with the tools we have, right? The world, the media, like anything, you're absorbing them all the time, and they're getting through based on the filters that you already have in place, based on the meaning that you gave something maybe offhandedly when you were 5 because you didn't know any better, right? So at 5, you saw that, I don't know, you heard your parents say money doesn't grow on trees, or you watched them work really hard to not get a lot. So you started making all these associations that you never really went back to and said, wow, that doesn't really serve me, right? You weren't critically thinking like that at that time. And now you're here, and when you go to launch your business or take this next level, all of a sudden you're up against this wall, this invisible wall of fear of the unknown, and you're not sure why. And so as you push into that wall, these self-sabotaging habits come up unconsciously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was actually just talking with somebody about this, about how it's the push into that wall, getting toward your comfort zone, getting to the end of the things that challenge you. It's like you're an adult until all of a sudden something scary comes up, and all of a sudden you're a child again. All of the child reactions come up, and it's so amazing. All of the work that we do, and we're 5. We're all still just 5.
Well, and all those things masquerade as a protection. Like the limiting beliefs that we have are masquerading as protections. And the limiting beliefs is what then makes the self-sabotage also kick in as a habit that we're not realizing. Like anyone that is scrolling, like doom scrolling, hey, this is a self-sabotaging habit. I do this. I participate in this. And then I go, what am I doing? Like, why am I doing this right now? And I just touched on something that you haven't asked this, but this is like essential to share. Asking the question why, when it's not in the direction of your dreams and your desires, is pretty fruitless, because you're just going to tell a story. When I say to you why, you're going to say because, and then you're going to go into the story that is in your head. And that's not, I'm not shaming that. We don't get anywhere though. So instead of asking, why am I doom scrolling? Why am I procrastinating instead of writing this copy? Why am I doing this instead of asking why, say what? What is causing me to do this thing or to not? What is stopping me from? When did I all of a sudden not want to take this step? How? Ask better questions to yourself, because you'll get better answers instead of staying in the story.
That's so insightful, because I think some, especially entrepreneurs, we think that why is a valid question, or not that it's not valid, but we think that why is a useful question. Why am I getting these results with this ad campaign? Why is this? But oh, I love that. That's so interesting that when it comes to these self-sabotaging behaviors, why is it's not useless? I'm tempted to say that word, or it's not helpful.
It keeps you in the spiral, right? It's this downward spiral, and it just keeps you there because you say, because. Think about little kids or small children that you see, like when they do something, why did you do that? Because, and they just tell this big story, right? Like, this is us. You said we're all children. We're all 5 again. We tell a story, whether the story is accurate or not, it doesn't even matter. We stay stuck in our story instead of training our brain to search for a solution, to search for a new path, so that we can go, well, what is making me scroll? Well, I'm tired. Okay. Well, what's making me tired? Well, actually, I haven't eaten. Well, why haven't I eaten? Now, this question, that's a good question. Why haven't I eaten? Well, because I got busy. Oh, I should go eat. Right? Like when we're asking to get us to a good place, why is a great question. I love to go why on my dreams and my schemes, dreams and schemes, right? All that kind of stuff. Otherwise, when, what, how.
How is something like doom scrolling protective?
Mm.
So, self-sabotaging behaviors, or that, how would something like that be?
Yes. It's a form of procrastination. It's a reward for working hard, for showing up for other people, for doing all the things, right? I deserve this break. I deserve this downtime. I deserve to have this mental shutdown. Yes, you do. Absolutely. And there are so many other ways to do that in a really healthy way. Because I know from my own experience, like I'm laying it all out for everyone, I have stayed up way too late just scrolling and scroll. TikTok is my nemesis sometimes, right? And just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and finding myself like literally falling asleep. Like, what am I doing? Notice I didn't say, why am I doing this? What am I doing? What am I doing? I'm stopping. Like, then I can get myself out of it and go and do that. So it is a reward. We have tricked ourselves into thinking that this is a reward. It's a form of procrastination. So if you're doing it during the day, right? It's also, we have become a society of not being able to be and to be quiet and think about, if you're watching a movie or you're watching a show and a commercial comes on, like we're all picking up our phone because we need to have something happening all the time. And so it's really, we do it to also protect ourselves from our own thoughts and our own presence as well. Because there's some fear in there. There's fear in, if I have to confront myself, and I don't even mean that in a bad way, right? Like if I have to confront myself and be alone with my thoughts, what might I think? What might I say? What might I notice? And instead, if I could just keep my brain busy doing something else, then I don't have to look at myself or my relationship or my house, or the work that I haven't done, or right, the deadlines that are looming.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I was thinking as you were talking that it's not like anybody goes online, and we can get off the doom scrolling topic. I promise. Everyone's like, move on. But I was just thinking that it's not like we go online because we want to doom scroll. You don't pick up your phone because you're like, I want to see things that make me feel bad. You get online, but then the algorithm serves you up stuff that makes you feel bad. But we get online because we're looking for that little like, oh, this makes me feel good for a moment. And we order from Amazon because we know in 2 days we're going to get a present. Oh my God, talk about a Freudian slip. Wow. Here we go. Speaking of being totally open, we get a package / present on our front porch that gives us that moment of like, oh, we work so hard. And then we look for these little like blips of things that make us feel better. But they only last for a blip.
Yes. So there's a couple pieces in there subconsciously too, that we get to start to unravel. And start asking ourselves again those better questions. So if you're finding yourself in any self-sabotaging behavior, and if you're not sure, like, oh, I don't self-sabotage, like I don't do that, okay, well, the things that overthinking, how quickly do you make a decision and how confident are you in the decision that you make? Or do you need to get 5 people's opinion? And do you have to do 10 hours of research? And okay, well, this isn't you being like, well, just making sure, right? This is you not trusting yourself. These things are questioning our worth. Like the underlying is that we're questioning our worth, whether you know it or not. And I'm not saying you don't want to research and you don't want to be detailed and you don't want to feel confident in your decision. we know when we cross the line. We know when we're in analysis paralysis, when we're overthinking, when we're indecisive. When we're recognizing these behaviors, then we can notice that and ask ourselves, well, what am I protecting myself from? What do I think I need protection from in this? That worthiness, that fear of failure. If you're an overthinker, and I definitely, please remind me to talk about the difference from experiencing overthinking and being an overthinker. So if you label yourself as an overthinker, my bet is underneath that is also a fear of failure, a fear of being wrong, a fear of, right, which also in there could be some perfectionism. All of these things are self-sabotaging behaviors that we can show up in, especially as high achievers, because we put the bar so far up for ourselves that sometimes internally we're like, uncle, like there has to be a place where, right, where we get some reprieve in that. So I am an overthinker compared to experiencing overthinking. The words we say after I am are some of the most powerful words in the universe. And if you're finding yourself saying I am and then putting a not so great word, oh, there's that negative self-talk that I talked about that we don't realize that we're doing. And lots of times it's a joke. I'm a hot mess express. We're always winning the game we're playing, and your brain wants you to be right. It always wants to prove you right. So the more you say things that don't serve you, the more you get things that don't serve you. Think a thought over and over again. Habitually, it becomes an I am. It becomes a belief. So you're now filtering through this belief. It creates emotions, sensations, and you create habits to prove it to yourself. So when you're looking at conscious habits, when you see yourself showing up in a certain way, you can go, oh, how did I get there? How did I get, what was the thought if you reverse engineered it? And great if it's an empowering habit, if you're, meditating every day, taking a walk, right? Like eating high nutrient food, like volunteering, like all the cool things that really empower you. And then in turn, others. It's when we're noticing the disempowering things that we just get to get curious about it. Like, just get curious. That's interesting.
I love that word curious because there's so little, if any, judgment
None.
attached to it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's such a gentle way of approaching ourselves. And I think women entrepreneurs, especially, and maybe male entrepreneurs, I don't know, I've never been a male entrepreneur, but I think my guess is that women entrepreneurs especially are so used to looking at ourselves and assessing ourselves in a negative way or in a judgmental way, looking for things that we can fix, and looking for those flaws can very quickly and very easily get into denigrating ourselves, especially if we are, to your point, if we are regularly looking for flaws, regularly doing, if we call it a self-assessment or whatever we want to do, if we're regularly looking to identify those flaws, even if it's, I want to look for my flaws so I can improve them, it's still that judgment and then focusing on the negative things. I love that idea of an assessment, just getting curious. Get
curious about who you're being, and then make a choice about who you want to be. Another really big one that I experienced for a really long time was overworking. And it was truly rooted in, and this was years ago, proving my worth. Right? If I work hard enough, more than someone else, better, longer, right? Everyone will then know like that I am worthy. I am like the best. I am the person that you want, right? Like all of those pieces. Overworking, again, rooted in proving. It's rooted in a fear of not being loved for who we are, only for what we do. I need achievements in order for you to accept me and to say that I'm valuable. And like, listen to those insidious, things in there. And so as we identify, oh, I do overwork. Like, notice I didn't say I'm an overworker. I do overwork. That's really interesting. What am I afraid would happen if I worked a little less? Who would I be? Who would I get to be? What are the gains and what are the losses? So you just got to start asking, again, really good questions so that we get way better answers than, why am I doing this?
We were just talking about this recently of, I was sharing with Nikki, of like, I kept saying, I hate flying. I'm afraid of flying. And it became part of my identity that I am someone who can't fly, doesn't like it, it's uncomfortable. And I thought about it and I was like, oh, I don't like it, but this is a choice that I'm making, that this is part of my identity. And I don't want that to be, and I don't need that to be. And it's not serving me, clearly, because to your point, you were saying of how you feel inside. I was getting anxious days before my flight. And I was like, I'm excited about this trip, but I can't get to that excitement because I'm letting these insidious thoughts turn it into anxiety, into something that it's not.
That is, thank you for being a true, like, a round of applause for all of us. Like, whoever's listening, you're getting some soul bearing stuff here from the three of us. Like, this is as authentic as it gets. I love that you brought up identity as well, and choice. Like, you hit on so many pieces there. So our mindset is our relationship with something. That is different from our identity, which is who we are being in accordance to the plan, to the thing that we want, right? And so, however, they are tied, like inextricably woven together. And your identity is who you are at your core. And yes, that had become part of your identity, right? I am, right, a person who hates to fly. Like, and so then, well, yeah, you proved it to yourself. You did all the things. Imagine, I always joke, like, use your brain for good or use it for evil. Imagine if you used that for good. Like, I am, right, the woman who runs the world, right? Exactly. The other piece that you said about choice, one of the ways that we rewire our brain, we reprogram our subconscious, is by making some intentional word choices. And I love to, you'll notice if you went through this and read the transcript, I say and 99% of the time. There's a very occasional but that comes out, and is expansive. It includes both sides. It really allows more conversation to happen, but is very restrictive, and it ends something. I heard a message the other day on Boxer, and this person was like, blah, 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 blah. And we know, and you're fine, but, and I'm like, oh, you didn't mean what you just said. You just told me this, but actually negates everything that was said before it. And the end of the sentence is what the truth is. And so that is very, like, that closes a door and it stops a conversation. Like we don't want to stop conversations, and we don't want to stop people at this. We want to keep going. So, and is one of the word swaps that I love. Here's another one. People can get caught up in making a decision. I need to decide. Deciding is so heavy. I'm making a decision, right? Like, it's just this very heavy thing. What if instead you made a choice, you experienced the choice, and then you assessed the experience, and you either made another choice or then you decided based on experience, based on data, as opposed to just telling yourself, you have to decide right now, like, what are you doing? Well, I'm going to make the choice about what I'm doing instead. It creates this whole new space and expansiveness, and you start filtering in a very different way. Because don't we all have choice? Like, I want to be a person who has choice in what I do. I don't want to have to be forced into a decision all the time. However, I'm happy to make choices. Same thing, but not. Look at, I said, but not. Really, right? It feels different. It feels different. It feels different to us. Yeah. And that is how we, I don't want to say trick our brain, retrain our brain into giving new meaning to things that have stopped us in the past. And word swaps are the easiest, fastest way to start rewiring your brain right now.
Well, I loved it. I think you said, I'm sure you said, make the choice. And I think that's such a great way of putting it, because it's not like we just stop. We just once. From now on, I'm only going to do this ever. It's it's going to come up again and again. It's not like we make a change and then from then on we're perfect. We have to keep practicing making that choice as we go. It's not going to be a one and done thing. And I think personally, that's what I find so frustrating about self-improvement. Because well, I did that already. Why do I have to keep doing it?
Well, I was thinking about, and maybe you can speak to this, Mindi. We've gone decades of our lives with these ingrained belief systems. So obviously undoing that is possible, but just to your point, Nikki, it's ongoing. And how does, I guess, timeline, I don't even know what I'm trying to ask, but just
love the question. I think I understand what.
Good.
This is about falling in love with the process of becoming. That's where the magic is anyway. So we create these outcomes, goals. Most people call them goals, right? A goal is an aim, it's a direction, it's a purpose. They're necessary. I like outcomes. Outcomes are the actual result. And so I want to be operating in the actual result, not just what I say I want, but what I'm actually going to get, right? And outcomes, when we're operating that way, they are this beautiful milestone of us becoming, I like to say, the woman who. And so as I become the woman who and cast votes, make aligned, intentional choices of who I'm being, what I'm thinking, what I'm saying, more often than not like, oh, everything has to be like rigid and intentional. Noticing that if I say I want to write a book, I don't know, if I say I want this thing, okay, is my identity becoming the woman who writes the book? Because that is the key, right? Is who we are being. And so am I making aligned choices more often than not towards that? And that is then that's expansive as opposed to the very restrictive, like the work never ends, right? It's never done. I'm never done working on myself. You get to flip that around and reframe it to, well, you're falling in love with the magic of becoming. And each time you get to be that favorite version of yourself. And she's writing a book. So what's she doing? How's she talking to herself? What does she think about flying? Right?
Fearless. She does not care. She's going on her book tour around Europe.
Exactly. She's finding the ease in showing up differently and doing it afraid, honestly. Rewiring your brain is not taking out fear of everything. It's like finding courage, right? It's finding some bravery to confront the habit that has been happening over and over and over again without knowing. You said we've been living with these ingrained things. Your subconscious thinks in pictures and sounds and feelings. And so when you want to create something new, I invite you to, I love to say, like, your SMART goals are missing an ingredient. We're all logical, tactical women. We know how to set SMART goals. They're missing the point. They are not aligning your subconscious. They are strictly your logical conscious brain. 5%. Remember, that seems like a pretty bad equation. I'm only going to use 5% of who I am in order to make this happen, when actually I could be aligning and using much more than that. So thinking in pictures and sounds and feelings. What's it going to feel like when I write the book, internally, externally? What am I going to be hearing? And not just what am I going to be hearing when I'm on the bestseller list? What am I going to be hearing from day one when I sit down and choose to write 100 pages? Like, what is that going to look like? Or whatever that outcome is that we want. We are connecting up, aligning up with the moment of becoming her. We're acting as if, because we're training our subconscious. It's filtering based on our belief. Our brain deletes, distorts, and generalizes based on our belief. So the moment we tie in our subconscious with what we want, as opposed to what we don't want, then we can start, recognizing ways to cast votes to be her.
Mm-hmm. beautiful. And I love that. I love the idea of falling in love with it because it makes it sound so much more fun. Who doesn't want to fall in love? And falling in love with the process of, I'm going to get the words exactly, not by, please correct me as I go, but falling in love with the process of becoming. Was that what you said?
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. I love that because it sounds like fun. It sounds enjoyable. Self-improvement is like, okay, yes, I'm going to do some self-improvement. But falling in love with the process of becoming, it's like, oh, that's what I want to do. Sign me up for that one. Yeah.
Exactly.
So it feels a lot more manageable too, of like, I'm going to do this big thing, self-improvement, versus like each little thing is an opportunity. And if I screw some up, that's okay. Like I have all these other opportunities to do it.
I also think that when we get caught up in, like you said, looking at our flaws, needing to self-improve, those types of things, this is, here we are in identity again. We want our identity to feel expansive, not restrictive. And if what we focus on grows, and if we're constantly focusing on what's wrong with us instead of recognizing what's right with us and what we are doing in a way that we like, and what just needs a tweak as opposed to a complete overhaul, we're going to start shifting our RAS, which brings us what we expect and anticipate. So the more we expect and anticipate to see our flaws and all the stuff that's wrong with us and all the mistakes we make, blah, 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 guess what? Again, you're always winning the game you're playing. You win, your RAS is going to bring you that because you're literally ordering it up. So start noticing what's working. What's good? And looking at data as data, not a sentence like a prison sentence that you're always going to be XYZ. It's data. It doesn't mean anything about you as a human. It's showing you what is working, what isn't working, what could use some tweaks, what you get to leave behind and find something new. It really is in the perspective that we take and the reframing and the rewiring of what does this mean? What does data mean? What does having flaws mean? It means I'm a human, right? Like perfection sounds like a pretty scary place to be, to need to work to be perfect all the time. Like that sounds exhausting.
No fun. No fun at all. No. Well, no fun at all. And also so many of these other things that we do, like we're saying, self-improvement doesn't sound like any fun. And I was even thinking as you were talking about, well, what do I like? I think there's also, maybe it's just me, let me know, just me, but I feel like there's so many times that we're almost afraid to lean into what we like because we're going to go down this road of like, I'm just going to lay in bed all day and I'm never going to get up. And then my business is going to fail because I'm just going to do what I like. I think there's a question. I don't know that maybe there's a question there. Maybe this is truly just becoming a confessional. Sorry, everybody.
Well, we have areas of our life, right? And so some of us are lucky enough to love our work. Like what we do, we're put into the world to do. That's me. I absolutely have I couldn't not do what I do. It would be awful. And other times I have had other gigs in my life, right? They were not my life's work. They were not my passion. However, some things are essential to living. Money is essential to paying the bills, to a roof over our head, to groceries. So we know that there are essential things. And then where do we get to find more ease, more joy, where we're more lit up? Because again, whereas what we anticipate and what we expect, we'll start seeing more possibilities for being more lit up in the things that we're doing. Once we start looking for ways to be lit up, that awful job or that, whatever that is, that chore, that this, that, you'll start being able to see it in a different light. Well, I don't love doing XYZ. However, I can find more ease in it when I show up as the woman who knows that this is an essential thing. Like, okay, here's a totally weird example. I don't like cleaning toilets at all. Guess what? essential. So I could complain about it and I could squawk about it and I could procrastinate about it. Still is essential if I want a clean bathroom. Guess what? I'm going to blast the music. I'm going to put on the rubber gloves. I'm going to put a thing on my nose and I'm going to dive in. Right. And I'm going to be the woman who knows that this is essential to having a clean bathroom, which in turn gives me a clean home, which I love. That I like. So we can find those paths in all the work that we're doing. And truly, if you're doing work, and I know no one listening to this is doing any kind of work that they want to like lay in bed all day and not do work. If you're finding yourself there, you are out of alignment with something. And you get to ask yourself, what was my why? Here we are with the why. The most important step in creating what we want is knowing what we want. And when we say, I want this, I want to write a book. Why? Why do I want to write a book? This is in the direction of our dreams, right? Because, okay, well, why is that important? We want to go 7 whys deep so that we are so clear. It's so compelling. Nothing is going to stop us from showing up more often than not as the woman who creates this outcome. And therefore, we're not going to find ourselves in a spot where we want to like burn it all down, never do anything again, like those types of things. I'm not saying we can't ever be there. We've gotten out of alignment long before that, though, and we're not listening to ourselves, to the cues. We're overworking instead of looking at there are other things that get to change. We're protecting ourselves, right? Like the limiting beliefs come up as protections. We got really deep there. Sorry.
Yes, but so good. I'm just, I hope everybody else is having as amazing experience as I am. I'm sure they are, because I'm just sitting here going, wow. Yeah, I guess maybe the thing is that I could talk with you for hours. I could listen to you talk for hours. I guess maybe Kate, do you have any questions that you wanted to?
No, I feel like I have homework to do is what I feel like. So I'm sitting here like engaging what she's saying. And then I'm like, oh yes, I get to.
Yes.
Aligned action. We call it aligned action as opposed to homework. Because then you're really showing up, right? Yes. Yeah. Well, I did want to just circle back to two things for us. One, when we talked about mindset, because I am a mindset mastery coach. Mindset is your relationship with something. And so what is your relationship with money, with clients, with asking for the sale, with all of those things? When you think about the other side of that, when I just said money, some people listening went, right? Like, and other people went, oh. What is your relationship? And think about what is your relationship with time and the time that you think you need to grow a successful business, to do the work that you do. Because the relationship, your mindset around it, is what gets to have work done in it. The things that you get to reframe, the beliefs that you get to shift. Your identity is you knowing that you can change your relationship, right? I'm the woman who looks for expansion over restriction. And if my relationship with money is feeling tight and restrictive and scary, right? I'm not honoring my identity. So I get to start like asking myself, who do I want to be? And what would it look like to get there? And knowing is vital, right? Knowing that. And I say all that to say, I have a guided meditation for everyone to walk them through rewiring their brain to really create that 24 karat outcome. And it's called a mental rehearsal. And this is another way that you rewire your brain very easily. Your brain does not know the difference between real and imagined. Kate proved that by saying that she got real anxious just thinking about she wasn't on the flight. She was just thinking about the flight. Okay, again, we can flip that. And so you can mentally see it, hear it, taste it, feel it, smell it, the outcome that you want, and start bringing it into you so that your brain is like, oh yeah, Like we got this. We've been here before. This is how Olympic medalists win medals. And people learn to play the piano without ever touching the keys from mentally rehearsing. This is you creating new neural pathways and wiring and firing together in the direction of your dreams, as opposed to the direction of what you don't want.
We want it. We want it. We want it.
We'll link to it in show notes. Yes.
Yeah. And Mindi, how else can people find you? We'll put all the links in the show notes, but if somebody's listening and
yeah, you can find me on the socials at Mindi Huebner, like my name. And there's not another one of me.
There is not.
that I know of. And you can mostly find me on Instagram and not doom scrolling TikTok.
Not doom scrolling TikTok.
And if you love Mindi's glasses as much as we do, which we were talking about, we will leave a link to where she gets her glasses.
Yes. In fact, if you're listening to the podcast, go over and watch the video on Instagram. On YouTube, so that you can see these glasses because they are spectacular. Yes. And Kate and I
are the hookup. Yes. The hookup.
Yes. For Kate and I fangirl over Mindi anyway. So now we're just literally for the next time you come back on, we're both going to have the same glasses on.
Amazing. I love it.
No, what is amazing, Mindi, is you and all of the wisdom you bring and the generous way with which you share that wisdom. Really, since I met you, you've been one of my favorite people. So thank you so much for being here and sharing. And really, everybody listening or watching, first of all, sign up for her meditation. And second of all, follow her. If you're interested in working with her, reach out for her. I can personally vouch for the fact that she is sensational. Actually, I should probably start working with you again. We'll talk after this stops. So I might get there first. So, but she's busy.
There's room for everyone.
There's room for I'll get there first. But anyway, Mindi, thank you so much as always and ever. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. So appreciated.
It's been such a pleasure. Thank you. It's so lovely to be with you both.
Thank you. And with that, we will catch you guys in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Do you want to learn how to sell and scale your offer on autopilot every single day without the chaos of live launching or the low conversions of Evergreen? Who doesn't, right? Get our free on-demand video training at circuitsalessystem.com/free. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to this channel to make sure you never miss a video. We'll catch you next time.